to Thriving Together, Stories from CCEJ, a podcast from the California Conference for Equality and Justice. Our mission is to educate and empower youth and adults to lead change for equity and justice in our communities. I'm Daniel Solis, your host. Central to CCEJ's mission is a commitment to restorative justice values like no one is disposable and people feel accountable to relationships they value. Putting these values into practice, especially when we feel hurt, disrespected, angry, or afraid, can be difficult. But changing how we hold people accountable when they hurt others so we don't throw people away is an urgent challenge facing our schools, workplaces, and communities. In this episode, CCEJ staff Ali Haezart-House takes us to the heart of this challenge by exploring how CCEJ's Restorative Justice Diversion program helps youth face the impact they've had on others, start taking accountability, and build systems of support so they can thrive. Today we'll hear Ali interview former youth diversion participant Noelia Sanchez about her experience in our program. They discuss the impact restorative justice had on Noelia and her life trajectory before and after restorative youth diversion. Let's listen.
Hi, my name is Ali. My full name, Alejandro Haezart-House, and I'm the director of the Healing Harms program. I've been here as a part of CCEJ for 8 years now. So all is part of the same diversion programming. And so I'm really happy and excited to interview a former participant, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
My name is Noelia. I am currently 21 years old. I got introduced to CCEJ in my 11th grade year of high school. Now I'm on my third year of college, and I am glad to be able to have this experience with CCEJ.
I'm just so excited to interview you. Like the fact that we have been first introduced to you when you were a junior.
It's been a very long time. It was on Zoom when the pandemic happened.
So let's start with a check-in question. What comes to mind for you when you think about CCEJ?
I think of a second opportunity. I think of restorative justice. I think of myself as a youth. I was able to get a second chance into the real world and just be able to build what I wasn't able to build before. So that's what it reflects off of me, at least.
So I look forward to interviewing you about why you were a part of the program and what your experience was. So maybe let's start with an intro question. What brought you to CCEJ? So share as much or as little as you feel comfortable.
Well, for my story, I'm going to keep some things to myself, but I'll give you guys the main thing. So 11th grade, I got decided to get involved with the wrong group of people. And with my rebellious self at the time, I didn't really care what the other people thought. So I was texting people. I would bring phones home that I wasn't supposed to have. And I got involved with this one kid, sent me something I wasn't supposed to have, and distributed it. When I was in school, I got in trouble. That video got found. And it was a little shooken up because the police had gotten involved. And right when that happened, the pandemic happened. So I didn't know what was going to happen from there. My mom, being herself, she was very pushy about, you need to do this program. We didn't know nothing about the CCEJ. The people that got us involved were from Venice. They were like, this is a great program that you should try getting involved with to get this off your record, basically. And they told me that I was considered a wobbler in the system, which at the time I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know what was on my record. But me being the hard-headed kid I came in there blocking off everything that we were meant to do. So I didn't really care about what you had to say. But as the months went on, it was a lot easier to work and figure out what I was really here for. So yeah, that's what brought me into CCEJ.
I definitely remember first meeting you at that time, and I remember that the person that I was meeting over Zoom, definitely almost a lifetime ago.
No, for real.
And yeah, shout out to your mom. So your mom was a strong advocate for you. What was it like meeting your case manager? What was it like communicating with them?
Well, at first you're just a stranger, It was super awkward, spilling my guts out to this guy on Zoom who's like 3 times older than me, lived in a house, was on Zoom. I had backgrounds. Again, I was in this phase where I didn't care. I didn't care to be there. I didn't care to get help. I didn't care for anything. And to have my mom sitting there and like, you need to talk to him, you need to figure out what's going on. It made a change because I finally found somebody that I can actually talk to and really understand me, because at that time I wasn't having the best relationship with my parents. So when I was able to talk to you, I was able to talk to you about home life, school life, and then the case, of course. Even though it was a little rough, I think I created a bond with you that really did help, because the experience couldn't have went any better. You got me into building bridges, you got me into doing some volunteer work, you got me involved with UCLA, which we just finished. You got me involved in that internship. But overall now, like, I'm over here as 21, I'm off with it, and I'm still in contact with you, and I am glad to stay in contact.
So if I can ask a follow-up question. You and I both grew up in the same neighborhood, same community. What was that like to kind of have somebody who was guiding you through a process, but, and you've mentioned some of this already, but someone who grew up in the same neighborhood and same community, like, was that helpful? Was that hurtful?
I think for me at the time, knowing that you knew where I was, so I could be like, oh, like, there was this accident on this street, and you'd be like, oh my God, like, I know where that is, or like, oh, like, there's this restaurant, he's like, I've been there before, and it was super nice because things where I grew up around, like, I was able to bring up and not feel awkward because you knew exactly where it was, where it was, whether the school I was going to, whether it was the park that I used to go to, or things that happened, the streets that we had in common, or my crossroads. It was super easy because then it made it feel more at home. Like, it made it more relatable in certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm. So how did the program help you think about the impact or harm that was caused?
Well, for myself, I didn't really realize what I was doing wrong. And I think that was the biggest problem. I was becoming this hard-headed kid who, again, didn't care. I was this big, I don't care. It's not about you, it's about me, and I still didn't care. Mm-hmm. And I think for that, I was harming myself in a lot of ways. I created this hate relationship towards my parents, towards my siblings, towards school, not wanting to go to college. And I harmed myself at that point because I was giving up on myself and the choices that I could have done a lot differently, you know. And for the people that were involved, you know, having that was just, that's all my fault as well. But I didn't realize how much I was doing wrong until I got involved with CCEJ. CCEJ showed me, like, hey, like, these are things you need to be careful with. Like, it's very dangerous around here. And it made me really realize my worth in myself and in the community that I was with, along with my parents. And my parents weren't there to harm me. They weren't there to scare me. They just wanted the best for me. And at the end of the day, look at me now, I'm in my third year of college, about to graduate next semester. So it's pretty great.
Yeah, I remember a lot of conversations were about home life, parents, relationship with your parents, and to watch you kind of grow through that and kind of grow through that connection, I think was so important. And did you feel that change as you were going through CCJ? Like,
yeah.
Did you witness that in yourself?
Well, the biggest thing we used to have with our meetings, you would take notes all the time. You would be tippity. And the biggest thing was, what is it that you want to do for next meeting? Or what is your goal? It was either not lying to my parents or opening up to my parents, or the biggest one was getting a phone. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a phone going through high school. I didn't get a phone until I literally graduated high school, but that was me building the trust with my parents, building the trust within myself, and then really showing, like, I had to put effort into myself, and that itself took so much out of me. And it showed my growth, especially with my parents, because I was this closed-off kid who wanted to be behind a door, to now I'm besties with my mom and dad. Twins.
Yeah, I definitely remember those phone conversations.
Yeah.
So having that experience. So how did CCEJ help you, or more specifically the program, how did it help you in preventing future harm? Can you share examples of how the program helped you consider the needs of those harmed?
Well, it showed me right from wrong. It showed me how little things can be big things, how age makes a difference. If I didn't get caught at the age I did, I don't think I would be here. Mm-hmm. You know, I would probably be actually in the system compared to when I was literally at the verge of being 18. Like, that was the biggest impact. If I was just 1 month older, things could have been a lot differently for me. And I wouldn't have this opportunity. For preventing harm, I mean, at this point, it's like, I now want to work with kids like me. I want to prevent kids from falling into things that I fell into. And that's really what I'm going to school for. I want to go for the criminal justice. I want to go for the cybersecurity, because cyber crimes are real.
Yeah.
And kids don't realize that. Like, I know a lot of parents who are having problems with kids that are getting attracted to websites and servers that are with grown men, and they don't really realize, like, the consequences and the damage that it does to you. There's so many predators out there, and we're just kids. I'm literally just a girl. Like, I would never have thought that if I didn't realize the impact it had on myself. And I can't bring that to other kids. Well, now I can, but before I wouldn't have been able to.
Yeah. I think it's always been a really impactful experience for me too, is your programming in CCJ really guided your future and your career path.
No, definitely. It really showed me what I was worth and what I am capable of doing with, now this experience. It's like, it's given me another opportunity into this world, along with giving me the opportunity to figure out what I really want to do. And I want to work with kids like me, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get my degree. I'm going to go find that job that is going to help protect those kids that are in harm's way.
If you were in a similar situation today, would you go through the program again?
Absolutely. And I would suggest it to anybody.
How is your experience different from going through the criminal legal system, even though you didn't end up going through the criminal legal system?
I think it was scary because, remember, I had like these police officers come to my house all the time at the time, especially during the pandemic, and it was like, well, we don't know what to do with you. Like, you literally, you're in trouble, but not in trouble, you're in trouble. And no matter how much I said, even if it was a truth or a lie, I was still in that bundle. So CCEJ, even though it was on my record, we made sure that I was able to figure it out for myself and figure out me to get it off my record. And without the help of you, I don't think I would have been able to do that. So,
Yeah.
Thanks to this.
Is there anything else you want to share about your time in the program?
If you get suggested to a diversion program, do it. That's all I gotta say is do it. Don't care about the label, don't care about the experience. Care about the experience, don't care about the label. That's how I felt. Because sometimes I feel like I can't tell certain parents of why was I involved in CCJ, or certain people, like, why was I involved? Because they might look at me differently. Telling my aunts and uncles, like, hey, I was involved with this, they're not going to want me around their child or their children. Like, they're not going to want me around their cousins, nothing. And it's like, I can't put a label to that now, because look at me now. If it wasn't for this, I don't think I would be the person I am today.
Kind of answers my second question I was going to ask you, is what would you say to a young person who's considering diversion?
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Take the time for yourself, take the time with that person, because all they're doing is to help you.
Yeah.
They're not in harm's way. Because I feel like for me, it was like, I didn't want to do it. Why was I going to sit there and talk to a stranger? Like,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that stranger is now a big part of my life and has changed a majority of my actions, because now I think differently. Now I know better. And it's not like you did the work, because I had to do the work. But you really helped. The program itself really helped guide me in what works best for me and what's going to help my future the most.
And it's a testament to really the work that we did together, because you were referred to the program 4 years ago, and we're still in contact. You finished your case in less than a year, and since then I have watched you graduate. Saw your graduation over Zoom, right?
Over Facebook.
Yeah, right? Over Facebook Zoom, right? Because you said, watch my graduation. And then, I have watched you go to college, talk about the struggles there, right? And, we have, really still kept in contact with each other to the point of we're doing a podcast today.
Yeah, I think that was my parents' biggest thing. Every time I come home, they're like, have you talked to Alejandro? And then when I told them about the podcast, they were like, no way. And I was like, I'm going to meet him in person. They're like, you're going to go over there? I'm like, yeah, it's real. It's a real thing. Because back then it was like, well, you're talking to this man on Zoom. And it's crazy because for the incident that happened, my parents trusted so much with a man online. It was great. It was perfect.
That's so real. Yeah.
I have a lot of growth, and I feel like people don't see that. But if they know my story, then they do.
There's if I can ask you one more question. There's
for it.
a lot of advocates right now that are against diversion, against the work that we do, and that it's a slap on the wrist. It's not holding young people accountable. What would you say to folks that are kind of against diversion or just don't really support this work? What would you say to those folks?
I feel like for everything, there's always a different side. So it could be worse in my case, you get me? That, yes, maybe if it was murder or something like that, then it's a slap on the wrist. But for someone like me, with the case that I had, or something similar to the case I had, I would tell them, like, I'm literally a walking trophy right now. I literally am proof that things like this, I have not fallen back into my bad habits. I have not fallen back into the person I was. Although it looks like a slap on the wrist, I had to go through so much. I had to go through tears. I had to go through sitting there and actually comprehending and understanding what the hell was going on in my life at the time. I had to understand the troubles. I had to understand the judicial system. I literally had to understand all my wrongdoings. Even the slightest text message could have messed me up. You get me? And for someone, if they were to ask me, I would tell them, you're wrong. Go look at it yourself. I bet you there's data that shows like the difference of someone who is incarcerated for a slight crime compared to someone in a diversion program. There's probably a difference in their life, because I bet you if I went to jail, I don't think I would come out this way. I think I would have a nasty attitude towards the world or towards police officers. Or now it's like, I want the help. I want to seek the help that I need. So seek it from people that want to help you, not people that want to hurt you.
Yeah.
So
Another world is possible, right?
another world.
Noelia, thank you so much for your time today, for sitting down to this podcast. The final question that we're asking every guest is, what will it look like, feel like, when we live in a world free of oppression and thrive?
Hope it looks better than this. That's all I gotta say.
More people in diversion.
Yeah, less people in the jails, more people in diversion. I think so many people have an opportunity of change. They just need the time and the patience and the opportunity to get it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to Ali and Noelia for shining light on the positive outcome of restorative youth diversion programs. These programs are crucial in providing support and alternatives to the traditional legal system's involvement for young people. If you're interested in learning more about CCEJ's Restorative Youth Diversion program, visit our website at cacej.org/healing-harms. Once again, I'm Daniel Solis, and don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to hear more stories of thriving together.